Hey everyone, welcome to Steven Universe, the show where we talk about the universe of Steven Universe. I'm your host, Victor Frost, and it's day 1 of Steven Bomb 2, Electric Boogaloo. If you're new to the show, while we usually have Steven Universe related news and reviews of fan-created works, during Steven Bombs we just examine the latest episodes. Our regular format will resume once the Steven Bomb has finished. That being said, it's time to look at the latest episode and see what we learned. If you haven't yet seen the episode Sworn to the Sword, this is your chance to pause this video, go watch that one, then come back. Don't worry, we'll wait. This is your spoiler alert. It is so hard writing this episode with that song swimming around in my head. It's so good. Right, first things first, new opener, mid-season too, which is weird. Though I guess they couldn't have done it before this point because that would show Connie holding Rose's sword. Kind of a spoiler. It also shows the gems on what must be an orbital platform, which is new. And to get a little behind the screen, the way the gems enter the frame on the last bit of the opener is a great way of showing character through movement. But enough about the opener, let's get into the episode proper. Sworn to the Sword is a great episode. Catchy music, action, world building, backstories, character development, and revelations. This episode is literally everything I could ask from an episode. It shot its way to the very top of my top 5 episodes, though it does bring with it some concerns about how the war fits into the timeline. Pearl says that the Sky Arena was an early battleground for the war, and that it's there that she learned about the customs of Earth Knights. Other comments from her and Garnet throughout the episode pretty well established that this sense of chivalry and duty that she has, with Rose as her liege, pretty thoroughly dictated her actions in the war. This is all well and good, but the problem this presents is that if the timeline for human cultural progression more or less matches our own, which, based on everything we've heard or seen thus far throughout the series, seems to be the case, then the earliest she could have learned about knights that were anything more than simple cavalry would have been the 11th century CE. That's a solid 4,000 years after the end of the war. Truly, we don't know what's up with this, and unless the writers do an info dump for us, we won't ever really know for sure. So with that in mind, I won't linger on this any longer. What I will get into is, once again, Pearl has gotten carried away. Oh, Pearl. Why? It's pretty much the case that the wonderful, intelligent Pearl kinda loses her freaking mind whenever Rose is concerned. In this case, she gets swept up in teaching Connie how to fight in the goal of continuing to protect Rose. Steven. Yes. Normally, when you lose someone, you grieve and that takes a while, but then you're done. You come to terms with the fact that that person is gone. But you always feel that little twinge whenever something reminds you of them. It can seem to us that Pearl is kinda going crazy on Connie and Steven in this episode, but understanding that process of loss makes her state of mind a lot more decipherable. We know from Rose's sword that so much of Steven's Stevenness reminds Pearl of Rose. His laugh, his empathy, the way he talks, and in a more literal way, his gem. In the temple and all around the world, it seems, signs of Rose linger. For Pearl, in a very real way, Rose lives on. Taking that into mind, adding in the chivalry, how she's teaching Connie, how she acts, isn't really that off base at all. The problem I see is that this hyper-selfless attitude we see her teaching Connie isn't exactly optimal. If you're basically immortal like the gems are, throwing yourself in front of a giant axe to protect your lord is inadvisable, but it's not game over. You poof, but then you eventually regen. Strategically, this buys your lord some time to either attack, prepare a better defense, or run. And it's a reusable tactic. For humans, you got 1. And the fact that Pearl got poofed so many times is proof that this lone wolfish, all-in strategy isn't sustainable. A sword's strength is its offensive capability. Its weakness is defense. A shield has the opposite setup. Individually, neither are wholly capable, but together they are a serious force. Working as a team instead of on your own lets the strengths of the individuals make up for each other's weaknesses, so there is an inherent value in preserving that dynamic, making that no one is expendable. I don't want to take too much more time on this episode because I still have to edit the damn thing, and even with my newly crafted DIY teleprompter, it's still taking a while, so I leave you with a final thought. Consider how Pearl's idea of the mission of a knight reflects on her panicked comments in Indirect Kiss. With that in mind, I'm Victor Frost, and I'll see you tomorrow on Steven Universe Universe.